There you go, sonic boom. All right, we're rolling. I think. Let me just double check that we're rolling. Yeah, we're rolling.
We are rolling. We're doing it.
All right, and welcome to the Pagey Train. Today I have on the show Prudence, Bernadette, YouTuber, filmmaker, a lovely person extraordinaire. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to see you, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, well, thank you for doing a COVID episode. Normally, I get people into the studio, but we're both just off air before talking about and boasting about our studios. I really love your setup there.
Thank you so much. It's my YouTube background, and I do everything over here. Record.
Yeah, I was checking out some of your stuff today. There's one I didn't see before because I've seen you online a few times. Was the Gamer Girl.
Thank you. It's a new series I've got on my channel at the moment where I talk about video games and everything to do with, retro gaming.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I actually, it took me back on some of that Nintendo stuff. Took me right back to my childhood. I think there was a time in history where that was the shit though. Like, you've got to keep that into context,
Absolutely.
Yeah, totally. Like we look back at it now as like this classic arcade.
Yeah, like that, I think like the golden age of gaming, like in the early 80s when, Nintendo was first happening, we had Zelda come out, Mario, it was just everything. Kind of like the pillars of gaming came out then.
Yeah, well, there was see, back then it was all tribal. I suppose it's tribal now. Like you've got Sony and Xbox, right? And it's whatever you grow up on, really. But back then it was Sega and Nintendo. That was the rivalry.
Yeah, I actually had a Genesis when I was very, very young. I think it was handed down from somebody. And I think one of the very first Sonic games was on there.
Yeah, but I don't know. There's something about platform gaming that I still, I don't know. It's the puzzle solving aspect of it. It's the benign nature of it. Like, what's the reason you like platform gaming like that?
Well, I think I'm really into games with a heavy storyline because I like, my JRPGs, I love my RPGs, but I think that I love puzzle solving. It gives my brain a break because I think I'm someone that gets so wired and I go down the rabbit hole of my filmmaking stuff and my development that I just need something to relax at the end of the day that is far away from my work. So that's why I just got really into it.
Yeah, I think I think you really touched on something that I resonate with there. The meditative state where your mind is active on other tasks, then the other parts of your mind are relaxing. I can definitely relate to. I don't know. You also tipped into another side that I can relate to is obsession. Like I get into a topic and I obsess. I get right into things. I research them to the end. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But talking about being a filmmaker as well, you were a finalist in Made in the West. You did a film called Peas Get Degrees, which would have been pretty cool because you get to walk the red carpet, get to see a film on the big screen. But what drives you into filmmaking as well? What's the vibe for filmmaking for you?
Well, I think to start with, thank you so much for mentioning my film. I think that for me, filmmaking is really personal. And I think that what draws me in is that I'm a storyteller and I believe that everyone has a story to tell. And I believe that I can really get out, I guess, everything that's been inside that I kind of bottle up and I can turn that into art. So my motto is, if it's bad and it hasn't sat well with me, well, then you know what I can do with this? I can turn it into art and make it better. And that's how I've kind of gone through life. A lot of my traumas I've actually just turned into great works of art. So that's kind of what drew me in.
Yeah, it's definitely a good feeling, isn't it? To turn negative energy into positive energy and into different energy as well. Like there's interpretation that's involved in that. Like I've made things with an intent. And then when they're made, the people that read it or watch it or listen to it go, well, this is my feeling. I go, well, that's not what I intended at all.
Yeah.
So there's a shift of intent, shift of ownership. I think there's a release of energy out of you when you do something creative. And
gosh, yes.
Yeah, and I think sometimes negativity is a really good fuel. I try to make positive things sometimes. It's difficult for me, like I don't know how I can be a positive heavy metal singer. I don't know how I can do that. But I suppose I could start trying.
Possible. Gosh,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, I
yeah,
think
sorry.
that that's what's so great about, being in this industry is that we're all so supportive of each other.
Mhm.
And I know that in every work I do, though, now moving forward in my career, that everything I do, there is going to be that yin and yang aspect. There is going to be a little bit of dark in everything I do that's light. So I think it's just acceptance, I guess, moving forward.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I certainly, I don't know, like what springs to mind is when I did when I've written a set with a band. There's been some sets that I've written that have been really personal about how I
Mm,
feel about the world at certain points,
yeah.
and airing frustration. It's there's nothing like having a microphone yelling into a crowd with your woes.
Yeah.
Um, and expressing it that way, but I don't know. It ties back to podcasting and doing internet content as well for me, making
Yes.
films and then having that platform to talk and that platform to explore ideas with people. I thought, like, even in this forum, just doing podcasting, like
Mm,
Zoom podcasts are different, or like, online podcasts are different from in studio. Um, and I find that the similarity is the art of conversation itself. We still have to get those things into alignment, but I find a different lock-in. There's a different lock-in with different guests that I do online or I do in studio.
yeah.
Yeah, so I was really getting to my point. I know I go on. Working
I
with
love
another
it.
YouTuber with content. I really enjoy your channel. I think that you're making some really cool content, so I totally recommend people go there. How do people
Oh,
find you on your YouTube channel? I think it's pretty easy.
oh, it is pretty easy. I mean, I've gone through a bit of a path to get myself accessible online. But yeah, you just have to go youtube.com/Prince Bernadette. And it says at Prince Bernadette on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook/IMDb.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's talk about that journey. How did we get to that simple handle to find you online? Where was the start of that journey for you to get online?
Well, I think that gosh, this conversation, we can go down the rabbit
Yeah,
hole. We
let's go
really
down the
can.
rabbit hole. Let's
Let's
go down
go
the rabbit
down.
hole.
We can. I think that I started, look, for me, I started working on a series called Please Stop Talking, which was this original cartoon idea that I had in 2017. And it was this simple series about a little rabbit called Bun Bun. And it was a slice of life comedy, 30-second videos that I was putting up. And I kind of went from that into transitioning into getting my work as an actress, director, and musician,
Mhm,
like transitioning that into a more professional online presence.
mhm.
So what I had to do was develop my online presence, develop my branding, my portfolio, so I could kind of just be taken seriously.
Mm,
Especially, I think it was hard because when I started, I was maybe 21 when I was doing that,
mhm.
and not a lot of people take you that seriously, I guess, when you're 21.
Well, I don't think people take it seriously anyway. You go tell people, right? I want to do music. I want to
Mhm.
be a storyteller as a filmmaker. I want to
Yeah,
make online content that makes people think and perhaps even do like
yeah,
be more like aware online and be more of a producer rather than an acceptor of information. Be a creator of information.
yeah.
I think it's an interesting journey to go onto that. And regardless of whether you're 21 or 30, I reckon people just look at you and go, "What are you doing that for? Shouldn't you be doing something normal?"
We can go down this lane together.
Please, let's do. I like. Come on, we've both been on this crazy journey, and I'm sure looking at your content and like I was having this resonation moment. I'm going, yeah, I reckon I totally know where Prudence is at. There's people telling her, "Why are you doing this for?" And I can totally relate. And I just want to know your story. What's your journey with that?
Look, I think that the biggest thing I've had to learn over the last, I'm going to say 2 years, is the why. Why are you doing this? Why are you the best person to tell this story? Why are you the best person to direct this? And I've had so many pitch meetings where I've had to pitch myself. And, it's funny, I was only having this conversation today with people. Why are you the right person for this, Prue? And really, the best answer that I have come up with is something that comes from my gut, and it's that I cannot see myself doing anything else. There is a drive and a pull in me that tells me to do this.
Mm,
Right? It's almost like an adrenaline rush when I start to work that drives me to keep going every day. And if I didn't have that running through my veins, then choose something else. You know, because there's too much competition. It's too saturated.
Yeah, totally. I think there's certainly the brightness of everything. You know, there's the glim and glamour of it. Like there's the performance of music and like entertaining someone is a good feeling. You know, having good conversations with people, that's a good feeling. Creating spaces and like you know, displaying art, curating art, making art. These are all good feelings, but there's a dark side to it. It's a lot of work, man. There's a lot of work involved in it. You can't just sort of fly by the seat of your pants. You've got to be targeted. And like, I think you brought up before, being professional. You've got to have a professional outlook on what you're doing.
At the end of the day, I know that this is a bit of a controversial opinion, but it's called show business for a reason. It's a business. It's same as the music business. There is an aspect of every actor or filmmaker or musician or even YouTuber out there where, unfortunately, you know, there's admin. I mean, you should see all the paperwork I have for this stuff. Like you guys, I mean, I know that you understand this more than anyone else, but a lot of people only see the final product and go, oh, that was just a 30-second video. You didn't do anything. You know, there's all the production, the planning, the lighting. I've got to make sure that I'm doing something that's trending currently. And then on top of that, you know, like with my acting work, I have a coach. I go to weekly coaching. I go to classes. I've had, you know, people in the industry help me with my branding on my portfolio. You got a lot of people only see the tip of the iceberg when there is 1,000 things on that list that I've had to do. And I'm sure, I mean, with Made in the West, with the amount of work you guys put in, it is insane.
Yeah, it moves from being just like an email conversation, because that's where it's still, like when I first started the festival, it's email conversations. You talk to people that want to go to the festival, you talk to people that want to enter the festival. But all of a sudden, once you start getting beyond hundreds of people, it will turn into what you'd call like an administrative architecture. You need a response time, because if 200 people email you, you can't have the time to respond to them all individually. You need automated responses. You need to have checks and notifications with your people to make sure that you know when you're being contacted by someone.
Correct.
You need to have a conversation with people. So you need to make sure that you are putting out content on these platforms that create conversation that's relevant to what you're doing. So therefore you need to do research into what that content needs to be. You all need to create that content yourself. And then there's the administrative arm of creating content. Like even everything from this podcast, like this, we are on a tick box for me in a spreadsheet at the moment. So you know, I've got my targets, I've got my interviews for the year, and I need to go through these checkpoints, and that's just my humble little podcast, never alone all of your profile. And I think that's the dark side, not the dark side. I think that makes it negative. Like it feels negative because it's a lot of work, but it's actually the part that makes you sort of target hardened, and it makes you a better vector for good ideas and talented people.
Well, absolutely. I mean, don't sell yourself so short. I think that your podcast is so successful for a reason, and you're talking to people who are, you know, new green shoots in the industry, or even some really established people. And I think it's really important to, I mean, acknowledge that, I'm a ticky box, but on your list or your spreadsheet right now, but that's great. You're doing your job. This is a job. And I'm the biggest advocate for making sure that everyone knows this is a job. We need to make sure that we acknowledge our gaffers. We need to make sure we acknowledge our lighting people, right down to the person that holds our boom. We have to respect every single job in this field. So I love what you're doing, and kudos to you.
Yeah, thanks, Prue. I think I look at it this way: like, you got to be prepared to do every job. If you're going to start a business or be a practitioner, especially in the field of media, there are so many arms of media. If you need to be able to do like anything from designing a poster to designing a T-shirt to working with a musician to come up with a riff, doing a voiceover, doing video editing, video capture, audio capture. And all the nuances that are in all those fields that I just mentioned, which are vast and many. If you're going to be a practitioner, you've got to be prepared to do all of that.
It's not just about being an actor or being a director. I can tell you, no one in this industry has just studied for that one thing. We all have to learn every aspect. Because how am I going to be a good actor if I don't know my framing? How am I
Yeah.
going to be a good actor if I don't know how I look on camera? So I think that everyone should learn both sides of the coin before, going into a professional job.
Yeah, just thinking that you're going to rock up on set, you're going to go to your trailer. The director's going to be a bit narky, but you'll get around that with your personality. I think, yeah, there's more to it, folks. There's a lot more to it.
Let's all laugh in unison. Oh my
Absolutely.
God. That is like, it's just so not how this is. I think that it's true. It's like 1% glam, 99% hard work. And not a lot of people want to know about that 99%.
Yeah,
Barely anyone does.
Well, I think, but Prue, I think the 99% is the juice as well. That's
Yes.
if you're not passionate about what you're doing, then why aren't you worried about that 99%? I revel in the fact that I could be someone's audio person, or their cinematographer, or all their henchman and goon in the film. Like whatever you want, man. I can facilitate some way, or if I can't do it, I can find someone that can.
Yes.
So I don't know. I've embedded myself in it, and I think and that's the juice, man. That's why it's cool. Like especially, I learned that in the music industry. I started in music first, and then I don't know. There's a sort of like a underground following that goes with heavy metal, and that underground following is something that inspired me, and I wanted to try and translate that across to film. And so that's why I sort of started going down the festival route of trying to create a network, create a platform, create a stage, and create a place where artists can go, man, check that show out. That was really cool.
Yeah.
That's the good thing in metal. Like everyone will go to each other's shows and they'll talk about it. And then they'll find other collaborations out of it. So that's what I really hope for the film industry. And I think it's really starting to take hold. There's other operators out there, of course. But that's one of the main aims of Made in the West, is to tap into that vein of creativity and encourage collaboration and encourage individual achievement as well. They're both important.
Absolutely. And it also encourages first time work. For people to put up their first work. It encourages people to stay active, because I think that's what drew me into Made in the West in the first place, is that I felt like it was such a safe environment to put up my first film that I did in isolation. Like I did that in the pandemic, and I was like, you know what? I know that this might not have been a multi-million-dollar budget film, but I know that it still work. And it was so lovely for you guys to include that in there. And I think it was great to see student films get seen for the first time. It's incredible. I love it.
All of this content gets housed together. Like there are some really there's high production value films that go into Made in the West.
Oh, this absolutely.
But it doesn't. The thing I like about the festival, there's many things I like about it, but there's one thing this thing in particular is that you don't need to have the highest budget film to win. Like normally it's a money ball game, right? If you've got more money, you can do a bigger story and be more grab more attention. But I think there's something about Made in the West and the cross section of content, the cross section of genre, that you can attack that award through so many different angles. And I think it's a really level playing field as well. So it's an accessible playing field, but it's a level playing field.
That's what's so great. Yeah. Because I think content is king with you guys. It's always going to be content first. And it's really all about execution. I think that, like what I did with my phone, you can do anything, and I love that you guys care the most about story first. I feel like it's really story driven.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Make what you want, man. That's what it is. It's like you don't need an object to dance around or something that signifies this content to this festival. It doesn't need that kind of tie. The tie it actually needs is geographic and in the culture of Western Sydney as well, because there's massive microcosms of culture through Western Sydney. Some of them overlap. Some of them haven't even seen each other before. There's such a vast contrast.
Oh, yes. I think that, with most festivals I've been to, there's never been something that was Western Sydney focused, but there is so much talent. There is so much talent here. When I went for the first time last year, it was mind-boggling at what talent was brought to the festival from Western Sydney. It's great.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like we started out like on milk crates with a $200 projector. And that was 10 years ago. In the Rocks, in a rundown cinema you know, a dilapidated cinema in the back of the Roxy Hotel in Parramatta. That's where the festival started. And now it's into this like, you know, this world-class content shot a multi-million-dollar DCP sort of setup. And well, for those folks out there, DCP, digital cinema package, sometimes I do that. Sorry about the abbreviations. But that's what it is. It's the brass ring. When you look at it from a content point of view, if you're a filmmaker, you want to have your film on a big screen with people in front of it. Like it's just the basics, or basic economics of filmmaking and watching.
Yes, and there's something so magical. I truly, really, I know that I get very sentimental, but I think when I go to the cinema or if I go to a movie theater, it's like this electric energy I feel that we get as filmmakers, because there's something so special about seeing work up on the big screen. You know, there's a sentimental value to seeing your work that big and to see people's reaction. And I mean, the best thing ever is hearing the audience laugh at the moment that you wanted them to. As an actor being on stage, when the joke lands, you know, it's like a switch turns on, you go, yep, okay, I got this. There's a certain confidence that you get from that.
Yeah, you get a confirmation.
Yes.
You get writing confirmation from it. So you work as a writer, and you get to figure out, well, that works, and you actually get to see parts of your writing that you mightn't have discovered before as well. You might have had a beat or a timing or a concept in your work that got a laugh or got a cringe, whatever it was, whatever response it was, and you don't normally recognize all of those triggers through your content. So it's interesting to see, especially a live audience. One of my favorite pastimes of Made in the West is watching filmmakers watching the audience. So I'll go and you'll watch, if you see me, you'll see me watch when I have a moment at Made in the West. Whenever I have a spare moment, you'll see me standing in the middle of the cinema looking back at the audience, looking for filmmakers. It's just something I do because then that sort of is it's an environmental indicator to see where you're at, to see how the filmmakers and the artists are experiencing it. I don't know. We just built the festival we wanted to go to, Prudence. We just built the festival that we wanted to go to. We went to other people's festivals and we were like, I reckon this could be a way better celebration. I just do.
You know, you tap into something so special there, because that is exactly my motto. Make the content you want to see. And you know, I went through this whole period of my life where I was like, okay, so I need to make this for this person. Yep, that's great and all, but when I shook that off and I realized that I needed to make the content that I wanted to see, I realized how many other people were also after that same kind of content. And that's how I came up with my channel. That's how I came up with the series I'm currently working on.
Yeah, okay.
We can talk about that later.
We'll get into that one. Don't get me wrong. We'll get to plug. We'll plug the series for sure.
Oh no, we're not going to plug it yet. No, it's not out yet.
No shit. Okay, all right. No, we're at like we're talking about the fact that there is one, not that there is one.
No, it's in development. It's currently in dev.
Yeah.
But you know, that's how I came up with everything. Like even the music that I write the music that I want to hear. And there are people who want to watch that. And there's an audience for Made in the West. Think about how many, there's no Western Sydney Filmmaking Festival that I had heard of before this.
Yeah, no, we have had a few competitors. They do pop up. With normally most festivals last 3 years. So being in the game for over a decade now, my experience is most festivals last 3 years. There's two things that you need. There's like I figured out a few things you need. One, you need an audience. Without audience, there's no generation of income to keep the festival going. You then need to decide how you generate that income. It's an important decision. It's an important decision how you generate income, because it will leave your stakeholder feeling different depending on where you intersect them with money. If you don't need to buy a ticket to go to Made in the West. It's free. To keep something free is really hard. It's really hard. It's the hardest thing for Made in the West is keeping it free. Every year, there's always a reason for someone to pipe up and go, can we put a ticket sale on this? And there's so many vested interests that want to do that. But then you go, no, it's got to be accessible. If you want more people, you open up more spaces, create more opportunities to collect income, selling of drinks, selling of food, merchandise, whatever you want to do, but the festival remains free. Yeah, hard to do.
Oh, I know. Look, I totally understand how difficult that is. Absolutely. Yeah.
But it's totally a recommended experience for people. We should move on to your content, but let me just plug the festival as we've been talking about it. If you guys want to know more about it, go to mainthewest.com.au and you'll see everything you need. You'll see the about us and how to contact us. Sling us a question, we'll be able to answer anything you need. Speaking of work, you've got this series coming up, web series or other?
Well, at the moment, we are in development for this series. So we've had our first, few months of writer's room. So it's been a bit of a hybrid of it being online and us working at the Informational Cultural Exchange in Parramatta.
Oh yeah, so, I love those guys at ICE. Yeah,
absolutely love ICE. They're amazing. Shout out to ICE. We love you.
I've worked with them for about 10 years on and off through different organizations. Yeah, for sure. Oh, they're a good bunch of people.
Yes, and they're so supportive of young artists and young filmmakers and first work. So, definitely big love to them. And we recently have been, kind of going into that next stage of development for us, which is working out our series Bible and our pitch deck. So there's been a lot of late nights and a lot of revisions being made, especially yesterday. Oh yeah,
like I'm feeling that pinch. I'm feeling that indignation there. You've got what I call application fatigue.
I have got application fatigue. I truly do, because it's like I keep going backwards and forwards, and I'm like, oh, I could just like move that slightly. I could just change that. Asking people's opinions.
Well, it gets worse though, because it's with story. You're always going to have to negotiate story, and you're always going to have to negotiate contract, and that's just something that is very, very fine detail. No, you can't do a broad brush on contract. You can't do a broad brush on most story. It has to be intricated.
Yes,
yeah.
That's
intricated. I just made up a word. Intricated. That will do.
Intricated, yes. Oxford Dictionary for. Well, that's the thing, is that I'm hoping that during this project, so I'm EPing my project, as well as directing. So I want to be my setup director, but I also hope that I can act in my own project too. So the plan is that I want to integrate a program in there for a high school student to shadow, or get like a high school attachment with my project, because I believe that we do need to encourage our new generation of, young females, young boys and girls to, get more involved in filmmaking. So I really want to make sure that program is integrated in as part of my application, and I can inspire someone else to want to do what I'm doing.
That's a very good idea. You may think on days that you're stressed, or other people might have opinions that, why are you doing that for? Why are you doing that mentorship? People should be up to themselves to get access to places. If they have dreams, I should just follow them. But in my experience, when you trigger young minds, especially people from high school that are interested, I've done a few festivals for like high school level sort of film festivals.
Beautiful.
In Penrith. And I've done some mentorship at local high schools for filmmaking. And I've been doing that for about 10 years. And there was someone that I was a judge on a festival in 2014 that then went to university and then entered Made in the West, So I see a massive value in people putting out that sort of access to younger minds. Absolutely.
What you're doing, that's so admirable. I love to hear that, because if we give those opportunities to those young people who, let's say, might not have access to, to a family member or to a connection in the industry. I'll be honest with you, I didn't have any connections. It was just like, fend for yourself, Prudence. And that's what, fend for yourself. Like that's what we have to do. And that's pretty much what I did. I really hope that I can change that, because I'd love to inspire, especially, where I went to school, if I could inspire another young female to want to get into directing, and for them to see that it's a real job, and for them to see that there are opportunities for them out there. That's what my big goal is.
Totally. I think it's been, I think it's 50-50 for people that females that have won Made in the West. It's, if it's not, it's like 51-49. It's in that sort of vicinity. Splitting hairs essentially.
Yeah.
We've gotten a few pats on the back actually from different organisations saying it's really great that you're promoting female directors. And I go, well, that's lovely, but that's not what we're actually doing. We're promoting the content. Just so happens that a lady made the content.
Yeah.
I don't think she won. She didn't win because we go, oh, we need a lady to win this year. She won because she bloody won, mate.
They're making great content. We don't even need to advertise. These girls are making great content.
Oh, mate, they're hungry. Women are hungry to make film. Like, I reckon that I can definitely see that out there. There's definitely a bigger uptake in females involved in film. And I think, just because of social pressures in the past, women tend to be, especially driven women, like are insanely driven. I've met women that would be of the persuasion, well, I've got to work twice as hard as a bloke to get noticed. And you put that kind of mentality into a creative space, you're gonna have some Terminator filmmakers out there. It's just that's just mathematical.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we need to change that narrative. We need to make sure that it's a 50-50 workspace, it's safe, and they can. I think the worst thing we can do is ever put a negative in a creative space, because then the creativity just goes and it's squished.
Yeah, there's different ways you can measure all of this. I've done some deep dives onto film creation, directors that were in power at the time versus producers that are in power at the time, what drugs they were on. So you can graph all of these kind of things. Basically, when there's a high cocaine usage and directors are in charge, films are better. When directors are in rehab and producers figure out the formula, films are terrible. That's where you end up with things like Home Alone 3.
That happened? Did that happen?
Yeah, no, you can actually, I've only looked through the 70s, 80s and 90s, but you can sort of graph through those decades about who has control of Hollywood at the time and who's making films and making money. Because you've got those disruptor directors, like if you go back to the 70s of Scorsese with Scorsese, Coppola, these people were really disruptive to how films were made. And then you get into the 90s, obviously Cameron and people like Tarantino, Guy Ritchie. These people are really disruptive as well. They don't do things that producers normally do. Producers will take a formula and go, this formula, this nice safe box of a film will get box office returns. If you go out there and make Taxi Driver, I don't think you're making that with the full box office in mind. You're making it because you go, I want to make this insane film.
Yeah, I think, oh gosh, that's a whole topic of its own that I could talk for an hour about. And I think that, yeah, I really could. I think really we need to make sure that, yeah, our content's great, but there is no formula. You can have the perfect filmmaker, the perfect cast, the best story, and it all still flop. There is no formula to this.
Yeah, I think right. So you've spoken like a true director and actor, man. People that have a money mind, they go, I've got to make this movie to make money. And don't get me wrong, you've got to have an entrepreneurial mind to do and make film. Yeah. But the actual construct of the film itself, the storytelling, that has to be really left to be, what the storyteller is saying, what they're trying to tell.
Yeah, I think this is where my brain, when I first, a couple of years ago when I started diving into this, that I realized, yep, you need to focus on the story and focus on your character. Make sure you've got a really great, layered story. That's fantastic. Mm-hmm. But I believe that a lot of films fall flat, maybe because of marketing. And that's where my, producer brain sometimes needs to click into gear. And we need to make sure that our films are being marketed properly. And so
that's true. Yeah, that's true. See, the producing side of it, doing advertising, thinking how that campaign is, the grade of how that campaign is, what target markets you're going for. These things are all important.
It is.
Absolutely.
Well, with Lipstick, this is the series that we're working on. It's an 8-episode, half hour. We're looking at a young adult audience, and when we were looking at the overall, package that we're doing, we spent an entire session just on how we want to market this, just on marketing. taglines, how we want the posters to look, concept art for this. It's so important. And if we let that fall under the radar, then who's going to watch it?
Yeah, that's true. There's no point in making a movie if there's no one to watch it.
Yeah.
But so there is that tug and fro though, like, you know, that where does the artist end and the entrepreneur start? It's an interesting question.
I believe they hold hands.
Yeah, they walk in unison.
They walk in unison together, and sometimes one's walking faster than the other.
I don't know. I think my money, the economic me turns to the creative me, going, "Why are you doing this, man? This sounds expensive."
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. My bank account says that too. It's like, no, and I'm like, yes, good idea.
Yeah, I reckon I've got my odds up. I'm winning 1 out of 3 these days. So I do a project, 1 out of 3 of them's making money. So yeah, I reckon that's better than my last average.
Look, as we mature, I think those two sides of us slowly start to, you know, move together. But I think in early career, like, yep, I'm going to do an entire film, CGI, the entire thing. And then you're like, okay, maybe I shouldn't do that.
Oh, look, I'm just waiting for the Roscoe economic singularity. That's what I'm waiting for. That full merger of horizons. That's what.
Yeah. I'm waiting for a film entirely done with like mocap, green screen, entire thing.
Well, I do actually have one sort of like that coming up. I've got to talk to a green screen guy, or maybe a special effects guy, to do this one scene in a movie that I'm directing coming up soon.
Oh, I'm very excited.
Yeah, no, it's a sci-fi. I'm going back to sci-fi. Normally I do like gangster, Western Sydney gangster films, but now I'm doing a sci-fi. So that should be fun.
Interesting. I love the idea of that. I'm living for it.
Yeah,
like Star Trek in Parramatta or something. Like,
oh no, nothing that good. It's more I know, recent time sort of stuff. It's kind of like they're in the Matrix but on a ship, and they don't know they're on a ship. Yeah.
I love the idea of that. I heard the Matrix had some fantastic special effects done in
Oh no,
film.
but there's no Matrix. They have this second life that they leave. Look, I don't want to give too much away of the project, but it's called Microcosm. So they live inside of the machine, and you can't figure out if it's the machine or not. And you know, they're on a date, then they die, and then there's a problem with the ship, and then they got to go eat magic mushrooms on Proxima Centauri. It's a really long story that goes for 7 minutes.
Sounds like a casual Friday night for me. I'm obsessed. I can't wait to get to watch this.
My partner, she said, like, how are you going to get this insane story out in 7 minutes? I said, read the script. Read this and tell me that you don't get it. And then she read it. She goes, I get it. I'm like, it's totally shootable, easy budget film, lots of intricate ideas, done in 7 minutes. So I reckon I'll blow out to 9. Might do a 9-minute film.
Has it been shot yet?
No, I'm starting the preliminary on it now, but then COVID happened. COVID thing.
We can all say that COVID happened. Like, I had a project and then COVID happened, and then now it's on hold.
Oh yeah, but that's interesting though. Like, COVID's a double-edged sword. It's like it can knock your house out, right? It can put your lights out. But it can also put your lights on. It's a really weird thing. Like with Made in the West, all of our sponsorship withdrew in 1 week. So we were like, fuck. Right? So they're like, my baby. They shot my baby.
My baby.
I've got to save my baby. So I talked to my team and I said, look, we've got no money. Okay. The money that we were depending on is obviously not there. Can't sell the advertising space. Everyone is in corona fear, and they're withdrawing their money from everything, including us. So I was like, we don't have any money, but we've got time. Yeah. So we use time to our advantage. So we made like a 6-part series about resurrecting content from 2014 to 2018. So we got to run older content. I just did some hostings for it, drew some more attention to the website, and drew more attention to the YouTube channels. And yeah, then by that we signed 2 content brokering deals because we built that. So people saw what we did and they've gone, oh, can you do that for us? So we're like, yeah, no worries. So we did that. We did a joint venture with Riverside Theatres, which was really cool.
I love Riverside.
Yeah, we did a digital festival for them. So it was called Made in the West Shorts. And
I saw it.
Yeah, and we resurrected some older content and, brokered that for our filmmakers. So it was really, really cool to get some paid content done for Western Sydney filmmakers. Amazing. But that came out of COVID. Because if we didn't have COVID, we wouldn't have made the 6-part series. That wouldn't have got that attention. We wouldn't have had the pipeline to make such content because it already built the template. So you just basically take the structure out, repopulate the structure. Like we were talking before, your admin, you don't need to redo it all. It's all done. So
well, yeah, I think that COVID really did force us to think out of the box. And I think it opened up the world. It really did. With before Zoom, you know, like we had to actually go in person to meet somebody in the States or the UK. But it's been such a blessing that we've been able to open up the world. The world is now accessible to everyone. And that's so great that you made, you know, lemonade out of lemons. That's fantastic to hear.
Yeah, totally. And it wasn't just the first thing. There was a whole bunch of things with the festival. We ended up making a magazine this year.
Yes.
Yeah, and we've done, we did a marathon. We did an online film festival. So Made in the West is now online. So we expanded from 20,000 people to 100,000 people. And that was in the first year. So I can't wait to see what comes out the end of the pipeline this time, because the pipeline's still there. We're just running the same thing we did last year. All the architecture's there. We just repeat it.
Yeah, and imagine how big it's going to get this year.
Oh man! Like we are terrified. We definitely got. I can't mention too much about that at the moment, but we are going through a big growth at the moment in Made in the West. So watch this space. We'll have some more announcements in about a year to 18 months. So it's pretty exciting what's going on at the moment.
I'm very excited to hear all of this.
But all out of COVID. We went from having all of our funding withdrawn to having all of our funding reinstated and more. And in the interim, we tripled the size of the festival. So that's what COVID gave us.
Look, you know, we need to just trust the process. Trust the process sometimes and say, I'm going to ride this wave for what it is. And it is what it is. We all went through the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite calming to know that you're all in the same boat.
Yeah, totally. We're all in this lifeboat together.
Yeah.
And I think, I know, we don't get me wrong, it wasn't that COVID just gave it to us. We turned the problem into an opportunity.
Yes.
And then managed to navigate through a COVID-safe festival in between. Don't ask me how we did that. It's an insane amount of work. I think I need to do a couple of shots of bloody tequila talking about it.
It was definitely a very choreographed dance, because when I went in, I remember all of us were like, we had our little bands, and then we kind of got ushered to the next point, then ushered inside, and then we had to sit. We weren't allowed to move. Just sat with our water, waiting for the festival to start.
I had a saying with the staff, actually. I said, if you've got a drink, you need a seat. So that's the nice way of saying to someone without being rude. And we use that vernacular all the way through the festival. If you just remember, if you got a drink, you need a seat. And we made it lyrical. Got a drink, need a seat. Hey, you there with a drink, need a seat.
Need a seat. No drink, need a seat.
I love that person. If you're at a COVID-safe event with a drink in your hand, you're not going to get photographed. Just saying, okay?
Everyone drops the drink.
If you want a photograph at a festival in this day and age, put your drink down, you'll get your photo taken. We want to take photos of anyone that's holding a drink.
Yeah, don't want photographic evidence of that.
That's it. Oh, well, we didn't want it, because you've got a responsibility to the venue, you've got a responsibility to the festival goers, the filmmakers, there's a lot of responsibility there. So you've got to do things properly.
Totally.
Well, we went to other people's festivals, saw all that did COVID safe, and we're like, they're not doing anything. But we'll do it properly.
Yeah.
We'll do it properly. Speaking of which as well, like Hangouts. We've recently started up the online networking event, which we affectionately call ONE, which is an acronym, ONE, ONE, online networking event. And we're talking about access to people on Zoom. I think you've been to a couple of these, actually, the networking events we do on Zoom.
And they are the highlight of my day. I love going to these events and seeing you and Misty, and I've made so many friends now. I love them.
Yeah, they're really cool. Like, they're accessible. Like, we had people from California, San Francisco, in the film industry talking to us in Australia. It was really cool.
It's amazing. I love coming to them, and it's so great to hear about what's happening in the film industry in all different parts of the world. And, to not only connect with people, but also make, some really great, genuine friendships. Yeah,
totally. We didn't think it was going to get any legs, actually. We thought we were just going to be a whole bunch of nerds sitting around talking film. Turns out it was a whole bunch of nerds sitting around talking film, which was really cool.
Oh yeah. I used to think it would just be, I used to feel so isolated, you know, and from these events on Zoom, it's made me realize, oh, so it's not just me. Like there's 1,000 nerds out there that we can all do Zoom with. I can geek out for 4 hours with you guys and no one's going to think I'm weird.
Yeah, that's true.
Great.
That's true. That's very true. I don't know. Like we did a big shout out to Maddie C. Vella, actually. We do the Western Sydney Filmmakers Hangout, which is usually at the Park Royal in Parramatta.
Yeah.
So we do those hangouts, but not everyone always wants to go to a hangout. So that's more of a social event, I think. And don't get me wrong, there's a social aspect to the online networking event, but there's also it's a structured event. So we basically had a really cool meeting about the structure of that meet and greet, because there's actually a pathway. It's a choose your own adventure. We've used a TV model and adapted it to a choose your own adventure, and then adapted that to Zoom.
Yeah.
So it's a really bizarre formula that we use to do that, but we found it really entertaining, like surprisingly entertaining. We took something that's really corporate-y, because Zoom's pretty corporate-y, and we turned it into something that was a bit more aesthetic and a bit more pleasurable.
I liked it. I think that it's different to a, you know, more, I guess, social environment, because sometimes there are people who are a little bit more shy or intimidated, and it lets those people make a connection to someone that they might not have in real life. So there is a massive positive to that for some people.
Yeah, totally. I think, that's one thing I realized, like, not everyone wants to go out and have a pint or have a gin and tonic. They want to just stay at home and meet with people. So there's different personality types that we've tapped into. So that's really exciting for me. I just, it's just one of those things I had a blind spot to, and I'm really glad that we sort of stumbled upon that in this way. But again, comes back to COVID. We would never have used that platform in that sense with that sort of thinking if it wasn't for COVID. And I don't think we would have enticed anyone to come along to something like that if it wasn't for COVID.
Yeah, and look, like I love the way that you guys did the whole choose your own adventure. I thought that it was innovative. I've never been to something like that before, where we got to choose what we wanted to do.
Yeah, there's this one question though in there it's like, it's right at the end. It's a Roscoe question, and it says you've got 7 minutes to come up with a 7-minute film, and one of you have to pitch it. So 7 people have to come up with a 7-minute film and then pitch it. So you have 7 minutes, 7 people, 7 minutes to come up with a 7-minute film. So I called it the 777 question. And no one ever picks it. I'm like, I wish everyone would vote for that one. I wish they would, because I reckon there'd be really cool things that come out of it.
Well, now I know I'm going to have to pick it. So when you see one vote, it's going to be from PB, and you'll know.
Well, make sure that you're out there rallying for it. You're like, you know, you got to pipe up and say, hey, make sure you choose this one, man. This is the 777 question that I've heard about.
Don't you worry. I'm going to be like, guys, okay, everyone in my breakout room, we're going to pick this question, okay? We're going to win.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But other than lipstick, have you got any other projects that are on the boil? Are you currently finishing any projects or starting any other new ones?
See, at the moment, I'm running. I totally feel you when you say running a business, because that is what I'm doing. So I'm currently working on my channel. So channel videos once or twice a week. So I do one YouTube short, one long form video on there, on music, art, film, or video games once a week. Then I have original music that I'm going to start launching next, like a Triple J Unearthed feel. So I'm going to upload just a single and see how that goes. So I produce my own music for myself. So I'll get into that. So we've got that, the music. I'm working on aping, directing, acting in my film that I'm currently pitching. Wow. Very scary stuff. And then on top of that, I am finishing up my international portfolio for work, so I can apply for some incentives, I should say, some government incentives for creators. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly that path. People are always throwing those ones at me. You should apply for this, Ross. You do this, you do that. You know, like, I don't know, like halfway through working on an album with the band, about to go and direct a movie, doing the content and doing an hour, half an hour to an hour of content every week for the podcast. It does it, and then you've got to organize all that. So that's what I mean, to resonate with your content. I could see behind the scenes that you must do a lot of work to put it together. I think you've got a very tidy page, actually. Oh, I think I lost you.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much. There's quite a bit of that, honestly. Like, there's a lot of effort, as I'm sure you are aware of, how you brand yourself or present yourself online. And I've gone through so many revisions of even my channel banner. Does that look like something that they would want to click on? Or even my intro, where I have the record playing and the coffee cup going. It's things like that that take so much time that not a lot of people.
I don't know. I get cynical about these things, Prue. I get cynical.
Oh,
why? Because I like you. I've put a lot of work into my front page. I've got like an intro video for newcomers, an intro video for returners.
Yeah.
I've set up the channel pages where you recommend other channels. I've got different streams of content, a variety of different content. But I don't know. People just don't go to home pages. Like, unless you're a YouTuber, I don't think you go to home pages. I don't know. Maybe I'm totally wrong. I think people, they obviously interact with the content.
Yes.
I see likes and comments in there, but I don't know. I just feel cynical. I don't know if anyone looks at all of the work that I've done. I just don't know.
I have been down that road before, and I can say that, in the beginning, like, I'm still in the early stages of my career, but I think now that things are starting to pick up, I guess, they 100% do. People eat with their eyes, and they want to see something that is aesthetically pleasing, and they make that decision so quickly, within the first 2 seconds of looking at your content, whether they're going to subscribe or whether they want to see your film or listen to your music, So it's every cent, every single second counts.
Yeah,
so don't ever think it goes to waste.
Yeah, I know. I just, don't get me wrong, I like designing it, but then I go, there's part of me that goes, I've done all these tags and this video, and then I've done, and then sometimes I don't put tags or anything on it. The video does really well, and then I put tags on it, and then it goes bonkers. It goes really well. Sometimes I tag the shit out of stuff, and it doesn't go anywhere. It just depends on who's watching what at what time and what people are looking for. I think, I don't know, my car content does the best when I do stuff about cars. I'm moving into telescopes next. That's my next one. We're going to do some telescope content. Okay,
telescope content. Is that on your Roscoe page, or is that on a separate one?
Oh no, I'll whack it on Still Searching as well. So
okay.
I'm an avid astrophotographer. So I take photos through different devices, through different telescopes. I'm buying a new telescope soon, but I like to take the shittiest thing and get a really good image out of it. So I've got, the best one I've done is like a 4-inch telescope, one of those old sort of 4 inches like that. And I've stuck a phone on the end of it and, gotten a photo of the moon.
Oh my God. Do you know just popped into my head? Oh. I know this is so bad. I was like, this is a Nokia 64. You will not believe.
Yeah, that's it.
You can get.
I like to find the shitty, I like to get a really good image out of some really shit equipment. It's like taking, I guess the philosophy is, it's like taking a really small hatchback and then taking it on a racetrack and absolutely flogging it till the doors fall off.
Oh, that's a good idea. I love this.
Yeah, that's why I see it. It's like over revving your phone,
you know what? You've given me idea. Okay, I'm gonna take the first iPhone, like the iPhone 3G, the iPhone 1, and make a film with the iPhone 1.
Yeah, that's it. Like, see what you can get out of very little. That's what I like. But at the other end of it, I like to, the next upgrade I'm doing, like, you pretty much need to own your own personal, like, observatory to beat it. Like, that's where I'm going next. So 16-inch Dobsonian telescope is my next endeavor.
Well, when you achieve that, give me a call. I'd love to see that picture.
Yeah, totally. I felt really bad though. I felt bad for my neighbours. Remember the lunar eclipse that was recent? We had a lunar eclipse.
Yes, we did.
So I hooked up like an iPhone 8 to a 6-inch Dobsonian telescope, and I'm out in the front lawn looking at the moon. And my neighbours were out in the front lawn, and they go, "What are you doing, Ross?" I said, "I'm looking at the blood moon," and I had a little remote hooked up to the phone, a little Bluetooth, so you can take photos. I'm taking photos as I'm talking to them, and I'm zooming in, going, "This is really amazing." And they were sort of queuing, like, "Can we come have a look?" But I didn't give them an angle to come and have a look. I'm like, "Well, you guys have a good night, and I'll see you later." And then I walked inside, realizing, oh, they probably wanted to have a look through the telescope, and I was being really rude. And I've just walked inside with all my gear going, "You have a good night, see ya."
Like, yeah, bye.
Yeah, bye.
Do you know, you have given me such an idea. I know this is, take this in the right way, but it would be so funny to make like a mockumentary about this. Like,
totally.
about a guy who's just like, "Man, I'm going to take the best photo of the stars with this 3DS camera. You should see what I can take." That would be so funny.
Yeah, only I may look at the telescope. Yeah,
yes, not you peasants, only me. You could do so much with that.
Yeah, I reckon I've just come up with a short film comedy right there.
I think I'm going to take that idea and run with it. Made in the West 2021. Get ready. I'm not kidding you. I would totally do this.
Well, look, I think it's about time to wrap up. So let me just let our viewers know, let our listeners and viewers know, where can they find your YouTube channel?
Yeah, so you just go to YouTube, www.youtube.com/Prudence Bernadette.
Yeah, or actually, I reckon a good way is I just type Prudence Bernadette into the internet, and you were the number one, I think.
There is only one.
There's only one, so yeah, definitely.
There aren't many Prudences. Old lady name.
But be sure to go out and check out Prudence's website. Hey, it's been really good having you on the show. I really enjoyed our time together.
Oh, me too. And I hope I can come back. This was so much fun.
Yeah, totally. It would be great. Come by and do a studio interview, or we can do another Zoom one.
Oh, let's do it in real life. I miss some human interaction.
Yeah, as I said, the studio experience is different. They're both fun. But the studio is I don't know, you get to see someone's body language, you're really locked into each other.
Yeah.
I've got the producer there that can just pull stuff up on the internet for us, so we can talk about absolute crazy shit and then confirm it later. So yeah, it's just a different experience.
Super excited for that. Let's do it.
All right, I'll add you into my spreadsheet further down the list. And
I hope I'm in that spreadsheet.
yeah, you're on the hit list. You've been on hit list for a while. I have a spreadsheet of targets and people. I have different columns, people that are suggested to me, people that I've been seeing their content, or particular musicians or actors, directors. So I've got to go through the list and then book people as the year goes on, because everyone's always busy.
Oh, look, I will always make time for Roscoe and the Pagey train. Always. It's always in my spreadsheet.
I think that's definitely the saying of the week. I'm going to adopt that. When Misty does something really cool, I'm going to go, "Well, that's in my spreadsheet, mate."
That's in my spreadsheet. Oh, yeah. Use it. That's fine. Copyright Prince Bernadette 2021.
Yeah. Royalties paid to PO Box. But anyway, once again, Prudence, thank you for being on the show.
Not a problem.
And guys, you've been watching the Pagey Train. You can find us on Spotify, Apple iTunes, Amazon, iHeartRadio, YouTube, basically anywhere you find podcasts. Just type the Pagey Train in, and I'm sure you'll be the first ranking that comes up. You've been watching the Pagey Train, and we'll see you next time.
On my spreadsheet.